identify,
What was that, Stacy?
can we just identify, please, who's in the room?
Sure. Want to go around one by one?
You want me to start?
B. Madden, here in the lodge.
221 and 223.
Eddie Langton, here in the lodge, 424.
Trisha Layfield, 859.
Charlie Pafford, 321 and 23.
Bob Rubin, 307, 308.
Ryan Martinez, here in the lodge, 337.
Sheila O'Reilly, 107 in the lodge.
Rufus Yerkes, 783 Campbell Oaks.
Bob and Vicky Chilton, 510 here in the lodge.
Okay, those
And-
are our live people.
Excuse me 1 second, Stacy. By the way, people who in the room who talk, you're gonna have to speak up because it's gonna be very hard to pick up voices from the back. So please speak up. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for coming. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to pass the baton to our secretary to confirm that we noticed the meeting properly. John?
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, the board members did receive notification of the meeting according to the bylaws, requirement of the bylaws. And also, I know of several board members that are online. Is everybody in attendance? Every board member?
Let me see, did Andy make it in?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are, Andy, sorry.
There's 6 online and Greg is on the phone.
Okay, very well. Then I will declare that there is a quorum.
Thank you, John. I'd like to remind everyone the purpose of today's meeting is to revisit the method of allocating the assessment on the lodge underground sewer lines. And John, do we have a motion?
Yeah, the motion is as follows. I move to rescind the board's action taken on February 12th, 2024 to impose a special assessment on all taco owners in the amount of $758 for the purpose of paying for the repair of the lodge building's underground sewer pipes. I further move that the board impose a special assessment on all taco owners in accordance with the precedents that the board has set when it imposed special assessments on all taco owners for the exterior renovation of the lodge and the replacement of the lodge roof. The formula for the special assessment for the repair of the lodge underground sewer lines will be as follows. 26% of the total cost to be borne by all taco owners to be computed according to Exhibit B of TACO's declarations, covenants, conditions, and restrictions. And 74% of the total cost to be borne by all lodge owners to be computed according to the square footage of each lodge unit as a portion of the total square footage of all lodge units.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Was
Thank
that Andy?
Yes.
Thank you, Andy. Now we're going to open, before we vote, we're going to open for comments and questions. I'd like to start, please. The decision to revise our assessment allocation all rests in the wording of our DCCR section 11.5. Gotten a lot of questions from owners. So we did meet with our attorney about this interpretation and we're all in agreement. Some people have asked, well, I pay for lawn mowing at High Point and Gamble Oak and Pinecone, so should I not, do I get my money back for that? No, the section 11.5 in this decision states extraordinary maintenance, repair, or restoration work. Lawn mowing is not extraordinary maintenance, repair, restoration work. I've also gotten the question of, well, if we have to pay for this in the lodge only, which, minus the common areas, then we shouldn't have to pay for the insurance on the outlying areas. Because in 11.5, it says extraordinary insurance costs. But if you read that section, it says, insurance, extraordinary insurance costs if it's a result of an owner's actions or the value of a particular owner's unit. So if somebody, I don't know, does their roof in solid gold and now their unit is worth millions and our insurance goes up because of it, we would assess that to that owner. But it does not say if insurance goes up as a result of a very broad market adjustment. So those I'm addressing here because I've had a number of owners talk about them and I want to just put that out there. The second thing I want to say, when, Tamron is 50 years old. So when the lodge sewer lines started to fail, we thought, well, I wonder what is the condition of the outlying areas, because this is underground. We can't see it. We don't know. And we asked our contractors to please, during this project, run a camera scope the other lines of on a test basis of the outlying complexes. Let's just take a look and see what we've got there. Well, it was not good news. We don't have details. This was just a test look and see, but the outlying areas are almost as bad, and that work will need to be done. We don't have estimates yet, nor do we have a schedule, but I'm just putting everyone on notice that this project that's going on at the lodge, it's going to be going on the outlying clusters as well. And so in those cases, it will also be treated like the roofs. So when the work is done, whatever needs to be done at the outlying clusters, the people in those clusters will be carrying the cost. And that is all I have to open with today. And I know a number of owners want to comment. I'll start with those in the room, and I ask that you please come up to the microphone so that we can hear you. Nothing in the room? Oh, there's somebody. Sorry, it's hard for us to see.
I don't know where the microphone is.
Yeah.
Right here.
Two questions. One,
Wait, your name and,
Bob Chilton, 510.
oh, hi, Bob.
Two questions. One, this does not affect anything from the gym or anything else, correct? We're not doing anything with their sewer lines, glacier lines.
No, Glacier put in their own lines during that project. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a line that Glacier feeds into, but because Tamron Lodge units feed into it too, contractually, it becomes our responsibility.
Right, the line, the sewer line, one of the laterals coming out of the south portion of the lodge building connects to the locker rooms, the saunas, the steam rooms, all that, the bathrooms in there. And our contract, our 2017 contract with Glacier, they're licensing that area, so they have complete control of it. We're responsible, they're responsible for pretty much all the maintenance of that portion of the building, except for the exterior walls, the roof, etc. This, and our contract stipulates that any infrastructure such as plumbing, electrical, HVAC that serves both that area and other areas of the lodge that are owned by Taco, then we are responsible for it. And that's the case here. The plumbing lines exiting that part of the building where those locker rooms and bathrooms and such are also serve some units, some Taco units up in the south end of the building on upper floors and other facilities. So yes, we are responsible for that. We are not responsible for anything that's in the newly rebuilt fitness area. That all gets handled by new sewer lines that they put in running southwest out of that area.
Second question is, since the people in the lodge are, some will be basically charged double than the $758 that was initially charged. Is there going to be a time limit as April 1st, or are we gonna extend it out a little bit longer to give us more time to pay that?
We can't extend it out because we have to pay our contractors and our insurance down payment in the fall pretty much ate up our reserves. You know, the bylaws require 10 days notice, and we're well within that time period, but we won't be able to extend that out, I'm afraid.
That's all I got.
If anybody is wondering details of the amounts we're looking at, we are ready to provide those, but I just wanted to make sure that we've addressed just general questions first.
Stacy, this is Ron Hyman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ron. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I have a general question. First, how's the snowpack at Tamarron as we watch the television coverage from California?
Snowpack hasn't changed much here at Tamarron. We haven't gotten anything from that storm in California. There are bare spots on the
Good news.
golf course and other places. There's, 8 to 10 inches depending upon where you are, but it's melting.
Okay. I'm going to ask a controversial question, and I'm going to ask it until, in fact, we get a reasonable answer. And this has been an ongoing question and an ongoing discussion. In the lodge, I understand that 33% of the total square footage is classified as common element by La Plata County. When you take all of the lodge owners' tax bills and add up all the square footage and compare it to the total square footage in the lodge, 33% of it belongs as a common element. Somehow in the past, we have carved out of the legality of the square footage being common element. We have carved out the upper floor hallways, the upper floor lobbies, the upper floor service centers. We've carved all that out and said, well, gee, that's not really common element. I don't think that's legal, and I don't think we should continue that. It's not a big difference between 26% and 33%, but it is the letter of the law. You're being very careful, and I appreciate it, being very careful to use the actual square footage of each of our units compared to the total to calculate our personal liabilities. And we will all pay our bills or face the consequences. But Taco needs to face its responsibilities also, and either change the common element nature of the upper floors and the upper floor lobbies and the upper floor service centers to belong to us only, the lodge owners, or in fact, they do remain as common elements to the entire community, which means we as Taco remain responsible for every square foot that we own. I find nothing in the minutes, nothing in official transactions, in any of the minutes that would cause there to be a change in that official square footage situation. Can you please respond?
Do you know when that was, you said it used to be 33% and then it changed? Do you know when?
Stacy, I don't know where Ron's getting the 33% from. The calculation that was done back in 2015, 2016, that was the basis for the lodge remodel and the more recent lodge roof, and what we're doing here today is it's more like 37% is a total common area square footage, 26% of that having been determined to be used by all Taco owners, whether they be lodge owners or outlying complex owners. For example,
is that determination?
Excuse me, Ron, let me finish. So an example of that would be the restaurant or the maintenance office or the front desk or those areas. The other 11% is what Ron is talking about on the upper floors, the north tower entrance, I believe, the upper floors, the upper lobby areas, the upper floor service centers, laundry centers, etc. So just that clarification, if you would. And then, as Ron was asking his question, something else came to mind. Going back as far as the 90s, when the outside decks in the outlying areas were repaired, they used to be made out of wood, and of course, over the years they rotted away. Golf spike damage back when people used metal golf spikes, and a lot of that. We were threatened with our insurance being dropped back then because the decks were unsafe because they were rattling around and falling apart. And we did a project to replace those decks, and those decks are all common elements, all 100% common elements. The only people that paid for those decks were the outlying owners, no lodge people. I was a lodge person back then. I remember I was not assessed a dime for that. So we got precedents going way back on this.
There may be some precedents, Joe, but in fact, the law is the law. And in fact, if 37% of the square footage is common element, it needs to be treated as common element. I would suggest that, in fact, if the board insists on magically making the north entry and the upper floor hallways and so forth as non-common element, you approach our attorney and find out how to get that responsibility technically and legally off the back of Taco. And until such time, Taco should continue to accept that total square footage, just like I accept the total square footage as we're assessed for our units, and everybody else the same. It just can't be by a whim or by a determination or a discussion of the board. It needs to be legally correct. And it currently is not legally correct unless you would like to correct me.
I don't have enough background in the legalities of that to respond and correct you. All I can say is we've done it in the past. We've assessed the lodge owners twice based on the recognition of common areas being used for the most part by either lodge owners or everyone. And so that's what we're doing that's where we are with it today.
Well, I'll state an old adage then: two wrongs do not make a right.
It would actually be 3 or 4 wrongs, but okay.
Okay. That makes it even worse. We need to do things correctly, Joe, or our documents are meaningless. Either we follow them or we don't.
Well, does anybody else
Stacey?
have any inputs on that from a legal standpoint? I don't.
Ron, we'll discuss it and get back to you.
Thank you very much.
But I would like you to send me your references.
Not a problem. Happy to do it.
You've said some.
I have all the references that Dave provided us back when we were discussing this during the external remodels. So I have the square footages and so forth, and I will send that to you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Sure, come on up. We have someone here, Stacy.
Okay,
Yeah.
who's this?
I'm Rufus Shirksheim from Gamble Oaks. I just wanted quick follow-up question, actually, maybe 2, on what you said about the outlying areas. I know that they're still working on the lodge, and it's probably too early in your assessment. You don't know what it's going to cost in the outlying areas, but I'm just wondering on timing. Do you think you're going to try to do that immediately after you finish? Because it's the same company, presumably they're here on site. I'm just wondering if you would proceed right away this year, or whether we should expect that
We-
uh,
That,
We don't know.
it hasn't been determined
know.
yet. It hasn't been determined. We need to do a really thorough investigation. But I think they ran a few cameras down on a test basis and saw that the lines looked almost as bad as the lodge. We don't know if one complex is worse than another, and maybe one can be this year, one can be next year. We don't know that yet, but we know that that is important. It's important to us. It's important to you. So we will be finding out and communicating as soon as we know.
All right, and just another quick question. I noticed they're doing work actually on some of the roofs up at High Point. And just wondering, do you feel that that project is going on schedule, ahead of schedule, et cetera? Do you?
It's
have any-
ahead of schedule. It's ahead of schedule.
No.
It's going great. But
Okay.
our payment schedule stays the same.
Yeah. And on the last speaker's points, I have to say, I feel like I should be happy either way, because one way I'm not gonna have to pay for as high a share of the lodge assessment, but if it goes the other way, he's gonna have to pay a higher share of my Gamble Oaks assessment. So that sounds like
I
win-win.
don't think that's what we were saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Just to
common.
clarify, what he's saying is, right now, we're talking about 26% of the lodge. It has to be borne by all owners because it's common, and he's saying it should be, I think, 33%.
I understand that, but if some of Gamble Oaks and the other outlying areas are also common areas, then wouldn't lodge owners have to, by his logic, would have to pay for a portion of that?
Yep, okay.
The percentage, if you will, or the amount of common area in the outlying areas is much smaller than it is in the lodge. Now, if you count the exterior decks and the back decks, which are limited common elements, the only other common area in the lodge, in the outlying areas, is the service centers where the laundry facilities are. So it's a different calculation.
Okay. Next.
Stacy, it's Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, quick question. When this all gets recalculated, is this still going to act as a special assessment for the outlying areas? I realize it's going to be a much lower number, but will that still be an assessment to the outlying areas? How is that going to be handled?
When the project in the outlying areas?
No,
No,
I'm talking about the lodge, the 26%.
Maybe Stacy, maybe it's a good time now to give my little deal here.
Yes, I think so. Joe's worked up the numbers with 26% as the common area, and we can illustrate to everybody how this is going to work. So go ahead, Joe.
Gary, you want to give me share screen?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. I'm going to make you the co-host, Joe.
Whatever works. Let me know
You're
when
not-
it's- what's
you-
that?
You are the co-host. You should be able to share your screen, I hope.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Okay, so what you're looking at now is, okay. What the heck? Oh, okay. What you're looking at now is it's pretty much a duplicate of a presentation I gave a couple last year for the lodge roof special assessment and for the lodge exterior remodel project back in the 2015, 2016 timeframe. So the basis for the distribution of the costs are the 3 bullet items here. Assessment to the individual lodge owners based on their interior square footage of each unit type. Recognition that a portion of the interior common area square footage can be allocated to use by the entire HOA, not just the lodge owners. I'll give you the details on that down a little bit further. and the recognition that a portion of interior common area square footage can be allocated to use exclusively by lodge owners, residents and guests. And these second two bullets are the gist of what Ron Hyman's protest, if you will, is about. So by the numbers, there's a total of 74,972 square feet of residential square footage in the lodge, and that's broken down by the 4 unit types in the lodge. The in unit on the east side overlooking the golf course being the most common, the IL units, which are the loft units on the west side overlooking the parking lot, and then unit 200, which is the 1 PH unit, and then which is on the second floor, and then the 2 penthouses, units 501 and 411. And so that's them. Now, the common areas that have been discussed here today in a little detail. So 31,068 square feet we have considered that general common area. And that includes everything you see there. I won't read through it. There it is. The lodge specific common areas, as we've designated them, is an additional 13,387 square feet. And that includes, as Ron Hyman described, the North Tower entrance level and upper floors, South and Central Tower floors above ground level, and all the hallways. So taking that, so what do the numbers look like? What do the costs look like on this project? The original cost of the project was $278,958.77 to be exact. Since that original project was signed off on, there have been 2 change orders, two additional work scope portions that had not been identified, and the contractor is asking, and duly and rightly so, is asking for compensation for doing the extra work. That includes some additional laterals coming out of the main portion of the lodge, and then a very complex network of underground piping that serves units 113, 114, and 115. And that area, should it fail, would require jackhammering up the entire Central Tower lobby floor, which, not the entire thing, but a lot of it, which is all that tile. It would be a nightmarish project and very, very, very expensive. So the thought was to get that fixed now and not wait for it to fail, which it probably will. So that has brought the total of the project up to $324,929, up from the $278,958. The two change orders being right around 24,000 for the first one and right around 14,000 for the second one. And we only found out about these 2 last week. So the total cost allocated to the lodge owners would be $240,477, 74%. And the total cost allocated to all owners, that's all owners, including the lodge owners, because we're talking about common area, $84,481. Now, the burning question most of you probably have is, what is this going to cost me? Well, there it is. So the per unit assessment, the per type of unit assessment is shown in that table right there. And I don't need to read them all. You can see them.
Can you identify by square footage, please? Because I don't know what those type of units.
Approximately, I can, and maybe even precisely. An in unit is 491 square feet. An IL unit is 672 square feet. Unit 200 is is 900 and change. The two P8, the two penthouses in the lodge are about 1,800 square feet each. An A unit is 750 square feet or thereabouts. A B unit is 1,250 square feet. A C unit is 1,425 square feet. An S unit is 525. ASL unit, ASLS, and this is the High Point units, and some of them have lofts, and that's why they're called LS. Right between the AS is around 1,250 square feet, the LS is around 1,440 square feet. The IB is 481, it's a little studio. Unit 802, I'm not sure on that one. That's the one unit in Pinecone that's on the left side as you pull into the complex. And I think it's around 1,800. Well, no, it's probably around 1,200 square feet, something in that neighborhood, maybe bigger. And the PS units, the presidential units in High Point, I think those are right around 2,000 square feet, 2,200 square feet. And maybe the MS unit in 802 is probably around 2,200 square feet. There you go. Now, I'll point out one other thing. So in the case of the lodge roof project and the lodge exterior project, the share by the non-lodge owners was drawn from our operating funds. I believe the share on the lodge remodel cost, it was something in the neighborhood of $350,000, and I don't even remember what the total cost, so that's almost irrelevant. But the point is, on those two projects, the common area share, or the common share that was shared by everyone, was drawn from, it wasn't special assessed to all those to everyone like this one is being done. It was drawn from the general operating funds. That was a time when we had the luxury of having some cushion in our operating funds, and we were able to pull that money from the operating funds rather than do a special assessment on everybody in the property. In this case, you all know what we've gone through the last year over insurance costs and rapidly and exponentially rising quarterly assessment fees. We don't have any fluff. We don't have any wiggle room at all. So in order to get this project done and do the assessment on the area, on the owners other than the lodge owners, we're having to do a special assessment on the Pinecone, High Point, and Gamble Oak owners as well. And we're using the Exhibit B and the DCCR's formula to calculate that, because that's exactly what happened. That's exactly the proportion that would have been used when the amounts were drawn from the operating funds in the previous two projects. I hope I made myself clear on that. Anyway.
Joe, let me just, I think what you're telling us is that in the past, we had funds that were, the origin of which was regular assessments. We were just able to have a cushion.
Right.
And the generator for all such funds was Exhibit B.
Correct.
So that is why Exhibit B is being used to produce that same 26% in this case.
Correct. Thank you, John. I guess you can put it out for more questions, Stacy.
Stacy, Ron Hyman again.
I'm
Yes.
back. Okay, yes, Ron.
Just wanted to respond. I don't need to provide you any information. Joe has provided all the information that I'm aware of on this single sheet insofar as square footage that belongs to the property owners in the lodge, and the balance being common element, total common element at 44,455. And somehow, somewhere along the way, someone has designated without board action or without legal action of 13,387 being seen as only used by the lodge owners and therefore not Taco's responsibility. So I won't be providing anything else. Everything is on the sheet that Joe's provided, and I think it is absolutely accurate. Thank you.
I think that our historical precedents makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if historically there was any legal action involved. I don't have a full picture of that.
I would think it would be a question for the attorney.
Well, our attorney's already weighed in on this.
That 11% of the lodge may be, with a sweep of the hand, taken out of a common element and put into a special category. When was that done, please?
When was it done? The first time this formula was used, Ron, was on the lodge exterior remodel. And you said something like with legal action or board action. There absolutely was board action at that time.
All right, I'll see if I can go back and find that in the minutes. Thank you.
Stacy, we do have a question here in the room.
Yeah, Charlie Packard, 321, 323. I'm on board with the way that it's been presented. I question the regular assessments within the lodge on square footage compared to the outlying areas, and have for the last 10 years. That it seems as if the lodge pays a higher percentage per square foot than other owners. Will a similar formula be used for insurance purposes and regular assessments going forward?
Insurance and regular insurance is part of regular assessments. Currently, we did not special assess that cost. And it is all according to the formulas that are part of our ongoing regular assessments.
The formulas are codified in the DCCRs. They were voted on by an overwhelming majority of owners back in 2019. Am I right on, John? Right on it, John?
That's my recollection. I believe the last major revision of the DCCRs was 2019.
Yeah.
And Joe is correct that what is it called Exhibit B was part of that vote.
Correct. And that, yeah, I don't even want to comment further on that. It is what's in the DCCRs. It was voted on, and it's the law as far as our HOA is concerned.
Another question here in the room.
Hello, Sheila O'Reilly, Unit 107 in the lodge. I have a question about the 2 units that we currently own. Why can't we sell those to defer some of these costs? And another question was, if the people that are in the rears of their special assessments, how long do we wait until we own them, those units?
You want to start with that, Stacy, or you want me?
You go ahead. I was going to start, Joe, but you go ahead.
As to your first question, one of those units was identified to be sold this year as part of our budget, and we're already planning to use the proceeds from that sale to fund our regular expenses over the year. So selling one of those units wouldn't help this situation at all. I'm sorry, I forgot, what was the second part of your question?
It was how long, if someone is in the rears of paying their special assessments, how many months do we give them until we own their units?
Well, first of all, there isn't a number of months until we own their units. We have to go through a legal process.
So 2
uh,
years, 3 months?
Colorado, I couldn't even tell you how many years. It would be a long legal process, and it would involve first notifying that owner that they were in arrears and giving them an opportunity to cure that arrears. I believe we have to offer them a payment plan, and then they have to honor the payment plan. We put a lien on the unit, and if they fail in the statutory process that's in place, which probably about 6 months or so, then we could start foreclosure. That's a complicated process as well, because if they have a loan on the unit and we start foreclosure, the loan company's in first position, and we would get very little out of it if we pursued that, because the loan company would get the money first. If they didn't have a loan on it, then we could start foreclosure proceedings. And I don't know if you've ever been involved in that, it can take a long time. We have never actually pursued a foreclosure all the way to the end and gotten money that way. Usually what happens is the owner they find a relative, or they find some money, or they sell some other property, and they sell their Tamarron unit, and then they pay that way. And it always takes time.
Approximately how much percentage of people that live in the lodge, let's say, are in the rears?
On the say, for example, any kind of arrears?
Yes.
So you could have your regular, right now they could be in arrears on their regular assessments, or they could be in arrears on the roof assessments. It's a handful. It's probably 6 or 8, maybe 10 units. And I'm pursuing those as we speak. I've got communications going on with a number of owners property-wide that need to pay their delinquent assessments, and we're getting there. But it's not a huge number. It's a little more than it's been in the past, but it's not unmanageable.
Stacy, another question here in the room.
Okay.
Hi, Stacy, Tricia Layfield.
Okay,
I know
go.
I probably missed something and I apologize. Where I'm looking at the per unit assessments. Joe, is like I have a B unit, 260.24. Is that on top of what I've already paid, or is that what I was supposed to pay?
We have to go through who's paid what already, who deserves a credit back. So yeah, so if you've already, Trish, if you've already paid $758, then
Right.
then you got money coming back.
Woohoo!
We made somebody happy today.
Yeah. Well, there's no furniture in there, but you can come party.
Hey, Trish, save your money for when it's time to do your complex.
Okay.
Anybody else in the room have a question? We don't have any more questions here in the room, Stacy.
Okay, I checked comments. I think we answered everything there weren't really questions in the comments except Ron talking about this snowfall. Anything else?
Greg, do you have anything? You're on the phone? We lose Greg?
I have a question.
I'm good, Don. I'm all good.
Okay. Joe, do you want to continue sharing your,
You had, I'm at the end. Taryn Glenn had a question. Didn't I just hear Taryn say she had a question?
Someone
don't-
did.
she keeps muting herself, so I don't know what.
I'm not muting myself. I apologize. The thing is in driving mode, even though I'm not driving. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay, I apologize. Are you gonna allow the 2 payment schedule? Or do we have to have the whole thing by the 1st or whatever?
I don't know that there ever was a 2-payment schedule on this.
You allowed it on the last assessment and on the outlining ones.
Yeah,
So just asking.
that was a different situation. That was a situation where we had planned ahead. This project slammed us in December. And we've been struggling.
And we've been
in-
slammed twice, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, we have to pay the the contractor who's doing this project 100%. We've already paid him $100,000 that we didn't have. And we took that out of reserves. And so the balance, 224,929, he's going to have his hand out the end of next month to collect that money. We are not getting that money from anywhere else but us owners. And so we all have to pay. When is it due, Stacy? April 1st?
April 1st.
Yep. It's
All right, second question.
I know that's tough and it's bad news, but this project, it slammed us in the side of the head and we had nothing, there was nothing else we could do but get the work done and assess all us owners to pay for it.
Those of us with double is now tripled, so.
Yes, I understand that.
Second question, when you were just going over what we pay for versus Glacier, I heard you say that they don't owe for their portion of the roof. Why didn't we then re-roof that section?
We did not re-roof Glacier's portion of
I
the-
know, but when you were just going over it a little earlier, did I misunderstand what you were saying about are they responsible for that portion of their roof or not?
Yes, they're responsible
Okay.
for their portion of the roof.
Gotcha. All right. I wondered if that affected our insurance since it's part of the building.
That whole fitness center
Uh-huh.
that has the old roof sitting on top of it, the old shake shingle roof sitting on top of it.
Mhm.
That's Glacier's property. It's not ours. We have no responsibility for that part of the.
And does that affect our insurance in any way?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, great. I had another question, but I can't think of it now. So thank you.
Happens to me all the time.
That's where I live.
I had a quick question if.
go ahead.
Yeah, just quick question. I think when we did the roofing project, we could kind of estimate off of the lodge what those repairs would cost us when you looked at the outline areas. I could do the math and come up with a pretty good guess of what that was going to cost me. Any idea? I have no idea how many pipes were fixed, how many, and then compare that to the outline areas. Do we have any way to get an estimate on
Right.
what that's going to cost the outline areas?
Not without a detailed study. It's a different situation out there. Part of the pipe, all of the pipes in the lodge are either under the building, embedded in concrete, under the parking lot. They're all impossible to get to without jackhammering things up. Some of the pipes in the outlying areas are going to be under grass. And then they'll end up out in the parking lot where the sewer main is, because I'm thinking now of Pine Cone. I don't know how it is in High Point and Gamble Oak, but I know our sewer main runs right down the middle of the parking lot, north to south. And so the situation with the outlying areas is going to be, while it's similar in a micro look, because you're looking at a pipe and it's a bad pipe, it's broken, you have to ream it out and re-sleeve it so that it's sealed up again. That part of it's the same, but the number of pipes, the length of the pipes, where the pipes are, it's all different out in the outlying areas. So without doing a a pretty detailed, engineering, survey on it, we're not gonna know. So it's not gonna be, it's gonna be a while before we know.
And Joe, I just would add, we learned that the preliminary evaluation was bad news today. That's how new the information is.
Right.
Stacy, I did think of my other question. Apologize.
Sure, go ahead.
Final question is, we did some fire mitigation back when we had the fire, the 2016 fire. Has that, and who has done that, sent in that information, that the fire mitigation that David done? Because I've heard lots of stories, and I was told this from my insurance agent, that sometimes it's discussed with the agent, but not set into the main company, and they do give quite a discount over that. And I'm wondering if that had been done for us.
Taryn, I'm gonna ask you to email me that question. In special
Sure.
meetings, we have to limit it to one topic.
Okay, sure. I will. Thank you.
Okay, I see a few chats. Gary, let's see what we've got. Outlying areas, I think we've answered that, guys. We need to do a formal, assessment with our vendor, have them really work up estimates for us and advise us on timing, whether any can wait 6 months, any that are close to total failure now, like the lodge was. And we understand this is priority. It's priority for us. It's priority for you, and we will be communicating as we go. And Ron, the new billing for the special assessment, Joe, I guess Lisa would get those out in the next few days.
Yep, pretty much right away. Yep. She's got to work on, some like Trish Layfield said, she's got to work on work with the owners who have already paid. Some of them will be getting, either credits, or if they requested a refund. So we'll have to work through that. But yeah, I would say within the week, we should have it
I
all.
agree.
I think that was Elisa.
Yeah, it was.
That was me.
So Elisa, are we safe to say we could probably get this all turned around within the week?
Yeah, depending on, if people need refunds, or we can issue credits towards their regular assessments, or what, we'll have to have some communication going.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Do we have any more questions or comments?
Gary, I got a comment.
We do have a comment here in the room.
Hi, this is Bob Rubin with 307, 308 in the lodge. Just kind of randomly talking to the Bobcat guys as we would see them out in the parking lot, and they were, really a hardworking, friendly crew. And I just would randomly ask them, how are things going? It looks like you're really having a struggle today, or how things are proceeding along. And one of the guys showed me some photographs that they had of the cast iron pipes. And I think it would be valuable to show that evidence of how bad the pipes really are or were. And then maybe share the same thing for the outlying areas. I think a picture speaks 1,000 words. And it really was shocking to just see how bad the pipes had deteriorated.
Thank you for that comment. We've got some pictures. They're not pretty.
Did Gary, did the videos, the photos and videos that Greg Kopus showed us at one of the Monday meetings, are those on the website? Are they available?
No, they're not on the website.
Okay.
There was a link to those. I haven't downloaded those. I'll see if I can. And if I can download them, I'll put them on the website, or find a way to link to them from the website.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why, I don't know, I forget who the gentleman who just made that comment was, but I see no reason why if owners want to see how bad the pipes are, they shouldn't be able to view that.
Okay, we have one more comment from Randy Hodge for the outlying areas. Would we get bids from multiple contractors? If there are multiple contractors in the area, I understand that our vendor is one of the very few we can get. If we can get any more, I don't remember that.
We got a second bid, Stacy, on the project that Greg's doing, and it was considerably higher than Greg.
Okay. But we do like to get multiple bids when it's not an emergency situation and when, so when there's time and when there are the vendors available, like for the roof, for the outlying complexes. We sent out, I believe, 26 bid packages, only 2 people replied. So there just isn't always a lot of availability in the mountains, but we do look for that, yes.
Stacy, could I add one thing on that comment? I wouldn't call the 18% as calculated here a miss. What this was these were pipes that were found that no one knew about it preliminarily. It needs to be understood, our 50-year-old unit, there are no blueprints, there are no maps, there is no information on where these laterals even occur. So it was sort of a discovery that was made during the process, not something that there was an underestimate on the original bid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Good
it's much
good
like when you
point, Mark.
when you do a remodel in your house, they give you a bid, but then as soon as they take down a wall, they find something really bad behind it. And so this was not just a price increase. This was additional problems that they discovered when they were down doing the work. And that could happen with any contractor on any project.
I'd also mention that I know Greg is, I don't know how much, but I've seen examples of how he's eating some labor time on this and he's not asking us for more money. I know one day his crew spent all day trying to remove a rock about 4 inches wide out of the pipe so that they could get in there and get the lining done. And I mean, they were at it all day until they finally got that thing funneled down to a point where they could get it out. And it was, I mean, I swear it was this long. Gary's got it on his desk. If any of you want to see this rock, it's on Gary's desk.
It's on the desk. I'll take a picture of that and put that on the website.
Yeah.
I hope it's been disinfected.
I don't know what they did with it, but actually it's on Elisa's desk. I put it over there while she's gone.
Hey, now.
Yeah, we will keep owners informed of any material changes and as we learn more about the next ones. It seems to be the year that Tamaron fell apart. Okay, I don't see any other comments that have gone unanswered. Any more from our live audience in the lodge?
Nope.
Okay, John Niebling, I'm going to pass it to you because I believe John wanted to amend his motion.
Well, I think in the light of the question that was raised about the accuracy of those percentages, that we could simply add the words pending review of percentages assignable to different owners, comma, and then go forward. You understand the gist of what I'm saying, everybody?
Comment.
It's actually the percentages assigned as common area that's
Right.
specifically under review.
John, this project isn't going to stop while any kind of a review that Ron is asking for happens. And like I said, we need to collect the money. So any change in what we have in place now, what I showed, is going to be way after the fact. Because it's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take to get a resolution on that, but I don't see
In
it
other words,
happening.
what you're-
I don't see
what
it
you're
happening
saying-
in 6 weeks.
Right. In other words, I guess what you're saying is that if for some reason there needs to be some sort of adjustment, that's going to come down the line. So it doesn't really impact. I mean, the immediate need is to generate the funds to pay Big Cat.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think the board can handle it either way. I know that the formula that is currently being proposed by Joe is the same one, essentially, that was done for both the exteriors and the roof. It's just that this question was raised today. I mean, we could acknowledge that with saying something like pending review, or we can press forward because it has to be done and then revisit it with our attorney when we can.
I think I
don't-
go to the latter, John. I mean, I think, we've got a precedent set here. We need to get this thing finalized and done, and we can go back to the drawing board with legal. It might require some revisions to documents. That requires votes. This isn't something we're going to fix immediately.
And
I agree.
Ron Hyman just made a note that I saw, and he agrees with that as well.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, then I don't see any need to amend the motion, so let's just go ahead and forward with it as I read it to begin with.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Greg?
Greg
On the
said aye.
phone? He did, okay. Any opposed?
Said I also, just so you know.
None opposed.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that concludes our business for today. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
Aye.
for all the owners who attended.
Yeah. It was good to see a lot of owners come. Yep.
Joe, are you going to be available for a phone call in a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna give you a call as soon as we clear out here.
All right. I'll be here.